All right, guys. Well, welcome to the Sangha. This is Saturday morning. It's Friday evening in the U.S., and both Dhammarato and Kishan are in Chicago, and Anna is in New York. And Michael's here on the porch in South Thailand. So, um, today we're going to talk about memory. And the way to get started is that in the Buddhadasa, in the Buddhist teaching, the word sankhara, which is often translated as concoction or put together, and a possibly better way of translating the word sankhara would be storage. Now, the storage is not storage in the sense of organization, like a library. It's more like storage like a junk room, or worse still, a big pile of stuff that gets old, and that the stuff on top of it then will press down, the new stuff will press down on the old stuff, compressing it. And you could also think of it as is that when things get old, they start to rot. Mice come in, bugs eat away at it and whatnot like that. And the same thing happens with human memory. So you can think of memory then as a storage system that we keep piling on. We've been piling on for our whole lives, and we continue to just pile on. Now, the old stuff that starts to rot then will begin to affect the new stuff, so that our attitudes, our old attitudes, when we formed them as a child, they tend to get worse, not better, unless we make an actual effort to change it. Now, one would think of then these memories as painful, and the reason that we think of them as painful is because we don't like them. That in fact are not painful, it's just that we don't like it. Sometimes we'll even wince when we think of something that happened so long ago. I've got an example about that. One time in high school, we were having a photo taken. I think that it was a photo of the theater group, and we were out on the steps of the auditorium, and I blew my nose and had a whole bunch of stuff in my hand. And so I decided, for some strange reason, as high schoolers do, that I wiped it on the back of this girl in front of me, because she had a low-cut kind of dress. So on her shoulder, I wiped that stuff. And that had haunted me for years. Now, the thing that's very interesting is that she didn't turn around. She was either too busy, or I didn't make enough impact upon her that she even know. And nobody saw me do that. But I felt bad about it then, and as I considered it later, I felt even worse about it. Now, the point is that most of the old memories that we have, especially of bad situations with other people, if you could go find those people now and reopen that topic, they probably have a completely different mindset about what happened, or they don't remember it, or they're already dead. And so we often have memories that are what we call painful, that really are not painful at all. That in fact, when I tell the story, you guys don't say, "Oh, Dhammarato, that was really painful to wipe your snot on the back of this girl." That in fact, what that normally does is it brings a smile. You think it's funny. But it took me years to get over that. Okay. Now, one thing that says is that my level of disgust is high, but my morality is also high. That in fact, I could have given you the example of being disgusted about stealing a car or breaking somebody's guitar or stuff like that. But I didn't do any of that kind of stuff. The stuff that I did was actually not all of that damaging, and sometimes people don't even know, but we still wind up finding ways of feeling bad. So, Keyshawn, these very painful memories that you're talking about, were they actually causing pain for people at the time?
Mm, I don't think it would. I wouldn't use the word pain.
All right. So you call them painful memories, where the reality of it was is at that particular old time that happened, it wasn't all of that painful, but we make it painful now. That's what I'm talking about is these old memories rot. They get worse. Let us say on a scale from 1 to 2, we did it when it was a 4. We stored it as a 5. 5 years later, it's a 6. 10 years later, it's a 7. And then in old age, it's a 10. To where the reality of it was is that we were misguided in the first place, and it was just probably a 1 or a 0 all along. And here we have in our memory system escalated it up to being something really bad. Now, another point about memory is that it's faulty all along. Okay, here's the faultiness in it is that one, we don't take in a lot of data. That the amount of data that's available to us is not near as much as the data that is, let us say, generally available. For instance, all of the sights, all of the sounds, all of the smells, all of that comes and impacts us, we actually filter it down to where we remember very little of it. An example would be a bee, that a bee actually has a vision system that's such that in the ultraviolet rays, that once a bee has been to a flower and taken the nectar, that flower changes color. So you can have a group of bees that goes into this meadow, and they can go through that meadow very cleanly. But if you went to every flower and took the nectar out of it haphazardly, it might take you centuries, long after the flowers are dead. In fact, they're going to die long before you were able to go. Why? Because you can't tell the difference between a flower that's had the nectar removed and a flower that has not. But the bees can. They can see things that we can't see. Dogs can smell things that we can't smell. Elephants can feel sounds and rumbles in the ground that we can't feel, especially if we're wearing shoes. And so a huge amount of input we don't gather. Night vision goggles is a good example. What is night vision goggles? Is that it takes the night vision, sees what's there with the camera, and then changes the frequency of it to put it into the human realm so that the humans can see it. So there's a huge amount of data that's out there. We don't have any possibility of collecting it, or very rarely. And so we're already limiting it down to about 5%. And then we have to go through the fact that most of the time we're not even looking at the data that we could be looking at because we're too busy processing the data that we just did. This is called perception. We see or have an experience with our senses, like hearing or seeing, and then we think about it. An example of that is that somebody is listening and watching a video of an orchestra playing a particular piece of music. The cameras will only show occasionally the whole orchestra, and then most of the time they're either focusing in on the director or on one of the players. And so even the cameras are not taking in all the data. So the student then is listening to this music, and then he starts to sing it in his head, and now he's not listening so much to actually the music that's being played. He's more interested in listening to the music that he's singing along with. And so we make a lot of mistakes because we're not really listening and not really looking at what's right in front of us. So that means that now we're actually limiting it again. So the data that we take in is limited, and then the data that we would be possibly available is very limited. Now, when we store it haphazardly. And a lot of it is not even stored very well at all, so it's no longer available to us. And then while it's in our memory system, it rots. And then when we retrieve it wrongly. And so look at the fact that the memory system is really, really not reliable. And this has been proven over and over again. In fact, the court systems for many centuries always relied upon eyewitnesses. And yet eyewitness testimony is very, very shoddy. We see that on many, many occasions. In fact, there was one one place that I remember is that the judge was talking about that, and the judge couldn't even repeat what the witness just said. Everybody heard it, but we don't hear what's actually said. So if there's 25 people in the courtroom and the witness says something, you're going to have basically 24 different interpretations of what the guy said. And so our input is really faulty. Memory is not reliable. And yet, these memories wind up being painful because we don't like what we remember. So the first thing that we can begin to do is to stop relying upon our memory system and start using our feeling system based upon what's happening in reality right here, right now. The past is generally painful. It's shoddy. It's not worth using. That in fact, I had a seventh grade music teacher who had a phrase that he said often, and his what he said was, a short pencil is better than a long memory. A short pencil is better than a long memory. I never did take that advice. That my style was to listen as best I could in class rather than listening and taking notes, because the ones who were listening and taking notes, while they're taking notes, they're not listening. So you can either listen and listen and listen and listen and listen and intentionally listen and listen and listen, or you can listen and then write some and not listen, and then listen some more and then write some and not listen. And this happens over and over again to where we actually wind up missing a lot of what's going on because we're writing it down. And yet, what we do write down is better remembered. So it's kind of like a catch-22. Most students will go to class, they hardly listen, they hardly take notes, and they hardly learn anything. But the students who come in with the very strong intention of listening and listening and listening very closely are the best students. And then the students who come in and listen and write and listen and write and listen and write would be B students. So a short pencil is better than a long memory only in certain cases. So, as you can tell, I'm not a big fan of memory. And yet, we use memory on a regular basis. You can't do without it. For instance, you can have a particular feeling in your lower body, the groin area, and you remember, oh, I've got to go to the bathroom. What if you didn't remember that you had to go to the bathroom when you had those feelings? They're going to get bigger and bigger, and then you're going to have an accident because you're not paying attention. Then, in fact, that's a big old habit of mine, is when I have the feeling that I've got to go to the bathroom, I kind of ignore it until it's too late. And so the better thing to do is to start paying attention and listening to what the body says, to start paying attention to the input that we get, to start listening better and start being more in the present moment. This is what all this being here now, being in the present moment means is that instead of listening and writing and listening and writing, it's better to listen and listen and listen and listen, to look and look and look, rather than look and think and look and think and look and think. And yet this is how perception works. We don't just look and look and look. We look and think and look and think and look and think and then listen and write and listen and write. And so we actually are destroying a lot of our input right from the very beginning. And so part of the training that we have with Anapanasati is start to look at the thoughts that we have and to start changing our thoughts from whatever is happening in the mind and start refocusing to taking in data. That in fact, in the meditation halls, when people go to a retreat and sit there for a long time, most of the time they're just sitting there and just letting the mind wander. They may in fact be doing something called noting, which means that they're noting the thoughts, but they're not really making any changes to those thoughts. So in this case, Keyshawn, when an old painful memory comes up, what's the right and best thing to do? There are two different ways of handling it. One of the ways of handling it is to divert yourself, change the sensory input. This is why in Zen they look at the wall, or in some cases you can just look out the window. It's better to look out the window than to look into the past. It's better to be here in the present moment and use your sensory input. If you're in the meditation hall, listen to what's happening in the meditation hall. Look around and then begin to focus the eyes on one thing and start looking at it and seeing the details of it. Is far better than regurgitating old memories. So diversion, that's the best way of handling it. And this is something that the Buddha teaches. Okay? The next thing that one can do is to actually reflect upon that painful feeling as, I probably got that wrong. It probably didn't matter in the first place. And yet now it somehow matters to the point of being painful. It wasn't painful when it happened, but now it's painful. Ha ha, look at that. I'm creating pain that doesn't actually exist. Most of the mental pain that we have, in fact, is pain from old memories that are probably not even accurate memories. That, in fact, going back to that wiping my snot on the back of that girl, I think she had a red dress on, but I don't remember what kind of style of hair that she had, and I certainly don't remember what her face looked like. So look how shoddy that memory is. Part of the reason why the memory's so shoddy is because I wasn't even looking at her hair. I didn't take that input in. So recognize that most of the painful memories that you have are broken memories. It wasn't like that at all. If you had a camera there, it would have been, and you reviewed that camera over and over again, you would see details on the film or on the video that you didn't pick up when you were there. This is why there is a huge revolution going on in the local police systems all over the world, but especially in the United States, because the cops are now having to have body cams. They have dash cams on their car. And also, people nowadays are carrying around a cell phone that's got a camera in it. Okay, the smartphone wasn't invented until 2006. So all of that time before, people went around without cameras. And the police were bad back then, really, really bad. It got away with all kinds of things. But now that people have cell phones and are recording what the police are doing, and the police have body cams, all of this terrible information about the cops is coming out. And everybody sees that, oh, well, this is all new data. So that means that in the past 20 years, especially in the past 5 years, the cops have really gone bad. No, they were always like that. Now we have the available data. All right. But you're not walking around with a camera and recording everything that you do in life. And if you did, that would be nuts. That would be a stupid thing to do. Because now, what are you going to do with all of that film? What are you going to do with all of that video? Are you going to spend all your time watching the past again? But in fact, here's a good example of that. You have a whole bunch of tourists sitting on the beach at Koh Phangan watching the sunset. And with the clouds and with the ocean and with the sunset and all of that, it's a state of awe that people go into. It's absolutely gorgeous. So what do some of the people do? They get their cell phone out and take a picture of it. They're not even watching the sunset anymore. Now they're too busy videotaping the event. And so I don't recommend recording a whole lot. But we are doing that now because people do have cameras. They're out actually even living even more in the past than they used to. The past that they're living in is more accurate, but it's still irrelevant. What's always relevant is what's happening right here, right now, in this present moment. This is all that exists. But in fact, the Buddha talks about it like that the past is dead. Is old. It does not exist. Okay? Here's an example. You break a cup. Yes, Anna, turn your mic on.
I have a bad memory examples, so I cannot transcend with my people. It's a bullying, school bullying when they were around 10 plus. So somehow it's not forgettable. Would you comment on it?
Ask your question again.
Bullying, bad memories about bullying in young age, 7, 10, 12.
Are you talking about bullying? All right. Well, very few kids are ever taught how to act with a bully. That in fact, the way that they're taught in America, and Dhammarato will reflect upon this as well as Keyshawn, that the way that people are taught to handle a bully is by becoming a bigger bully. You got to fight back, so they say. Is that what you heard, Dhammarato? Mm-hmm. All right. What's the better thing for the teenager to do, the 14-year-old, the 11-year-old? What's the best way to handle a bully? The best way to handle the bully is to ignore them, because the bullies are looking for attention. And if you're not afraid of them, you just ignore them, they'll go bully somebody else. But the bullies always want to pick on one or two kids, probably a new kid in the class, because when you're a new kid in the class, everything is strange. You don't know what to do. You're filled with fear, and now you've got a group of bullies. In fact, you might even have competing gangs of bullies. And so they all pick on the new kid in class. Or they'll pick on somebody who is different than all the others. He's got a strange name, or he's smarter than all the other kids, or he's dumber than all the other kids. But anything that makes one kid stand out, that's where the bullies go to pick on them. And then the child reacts with fear. And so that encourages the bully to continue on. But the best thing to handle with the kids, the best thing to teach the children who have been bullied is when you see the bully, make sure that you see the bully before he sees you.
My problem is not the kids. My problem is that adults.
Right.
After 30,
I'm
40
getting
years,
into it.
they think about it. Yeah.
Right. So what we're saying now, let me finish this one point. If you can see the bully before he sees you, then you can take a hike. One of the best things to do, in fact, when you see the bully coming, is to go right past him. He calls, turn around and talk to me or something. And the right thing to say is, oh, I've got to go. See you later. And just continue walking. Walk fast. The bully will have to walk really fast to keep up with you if he wants to continue bullying you. And so then you make a right turn or a left turn, whichever way, but you get away from them, and they have to chase you down if they want to bully you, but they don't want to work so hard. They'd rather bully somebody who is easily bullied, who is so afraid that they're going to stand there and let the bully do it to them. So let us say that you're in the cafeteria and some bully comes up and takes your cake from your plate. The right thing to do is to stand up and walk out of the cafeteria, leave the food there. Because the bully is not interested in your food, he's interested in bullying you. And when you're not even available, they're not going to continue to bully you. Now, none of your students or clients, Anna, were able to do that. They stayed and got bullied, right? Kishan, have you ever been bullied when you were a kid?
Maybe a little bit in middle school.
Okay, how about you, Dhammarato? Were you bullied when you were a kid? Or were you one of the bullies?
Not too much, but a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the easy way to deal with them is to get away from them. How about you, Michael? Were you bullied when you were a kid?
Yes, I was bullied and also bullied other kids as well.
All right. So guess what? In a way, every kid is a bully and every kid gets bullied one way or the other. Ivan, how about you? Were you bullied as a kid? Never mind. Okay, so Anna, back to your question. The right way for your clients to handle that is the way that I've been talking to Kishan about handling painful memories, because when you get bullied, that's a painful memory, isn't it? That's why the people are talking about I was bullied in school. It's because the memories of it, we don't like them.
As you said, it's so deep, so it's coming automatically, so they can't anymore catch it on the way.
Well, it comes up
out meditation, so it's very tricky.
Right. Those memories come up as being bullied happen automatically, which means we're in the habit of remembering that I was bullied. Okay? So the two ways that we can handle it is, one, when you teach these students of yours who are constantly remembering being bullied, constantly having the pain of those painful memories, the right thing to do is get them to divert. Go watch a movie. Go do something else. Put down that memory and pick up something that's more wholesome right here, right now. Divert. That's the first thing to do. The second one, which is actually, let us say, a later stage, one that's more valuable, the real cure, Because the first cure that I have is that when we begin to get into the habit of, as soon as I see those painful memories, as soon as I see I was bullied and I remember it and I don't like it, we can divert to, yeah, but there's no bullies here right now. Isn't that yeah, that's wonderful. I got no bully right now. So we can divert out of that. And then the more advanced technique would be to go into that memory and recognize that I don't have to feel that. I didn't have to feel that way then, and I don't have to feel that way now. I chose to feel bullied. I chose to feel bad when I was a kid being bullied. And now I'm choosing again, when I remember it, to feel bad. And I don't have to feel bad. I can actually, just like the story that I told about wiping snot on that girl's back, that used to bother me so much that I couldn't tell anybody about it. Now I can tell you about it with a great big smile. Okay? Why? Because I got over it. I remember it, but the feelings have changed because I made sure that I changed the feelings about it. That in fact, there's no end to all the bad things that happened. We can sit here and remember one thing after another and feel worse and worse and worse. That in fact, I can remember being bullied, and then I have another memory of being bullied at a different occasion, and then I can remember a third time that I got bullied. Now look, the first time that I got bullied, I felt bad. Then I remember the second time I got bullied, and now I feel even worse. And now I remember the third time that I got bullied, and I feel really, really bad now. Okay, so the best thing to do is, when I remember getting bullied the first time, is divert the mind, change it, go off someplace else, go get a Coke, go do some activity, do something that requires a little bit of mind state so that we can get away from it. That's the beginner's way. The more advanced way is to have that memory and say, I'm okay. I have not got that bully now. And I felt bad because I didn't know how to feel back then, but now I know how to feel. So when I was being bullied then, I felt bad, but I can remember that bullying and not feel bad anymore. But that takes even a deeper kind of practice. So the first kind of practice, over and over and over again, when the student begins to feel like that, remember that they were bullied, say, let's forget about being bullied. Let's forget about it. Just drop that kind of thought. Divert the thought into something useful, valuable, wholesome. Let's not think about it. Let's do something better. Let's go have cheesecake. Let's go get some ice cream. Let's do something to divert the mind away from remembering the bully. And then the bully will come back. Never mind, come back and divert again. And then the bully's thoughts will come back again. Never mind, divert the mind and come back again. So while Keyshawn was talking about painful memories in general, you're talking about it specifically being bullied, which is actually kind of a painful memory, but it's not the end of it. Getting a spanking by daddy, getting scolded by Uncle Sam, all of these kind of problems wind up being unwholesome, painful memories. And for some reason or another, we tend to dwell on them. Oh, I hurt myself by thinking about it. Let me think about it some more and hurt myself again. Let me keep stabbing myself over and over and over again by remembering that feeling and that thought over and over and over again. That's the way the normal mind works. But we have to be able to.
Why does the mind do that? And for my scenario, it was something not too long ago. It was from today, and it was about a meeting. And I feel like those kind of those kind of memories are more prone to the kind of thing that you just said about keep going back to it even though it's painful, because you probably are trying to be like more analytical about it and like think it through, or I don't know, sometimes, but yeah.
Exactly. So basically what you're saying is that you're trying to analyze it and you keep failing, and you keep coming back in memory. So remember, I said there's two ways to do it. The first one is to keep diverting away from it. Don't think about it. But in fact, if it was a meeting that happened earlier today, then let's not think about it until it was earlier in the week. And then let's not think about it until it was earlier in the month. And now we can not think about it until it is old, like earlier in the year. Right? Now that it's old and earlier in the year, you're probably not even going to be thinking about it at all because you kept pushing it away and pushing it away and pushing it away and pushing away. So now when it comes back, it doesn't come back with near the force or intensity that it did before. So after we keep pushing it away and pushing it away and pushing it away, every time that thought of that meeting comes up, or every time we have that thought about being bullied, we keep starting to push it away. Whether it was an old memory, it could have happened when you were in childhood, but we keep bringing it up and feeling bad and bringing it up and feeling bad. And so the technique that Buddha teaches is to divert, get away from it, push that feeling away. And when we get good at that, now we can bring that feeling back without all the intensity of the feelings to it and analyze it. Don't analyze it when it's painful. Analyze it when it is now no longer so painful, because we've got the technique of just throwing it out.
But you probably don't care to analyze it once the feelings are gone, right?
Yeah, once the feelings are gone, now we can analyze it. For instance, I gave a bit of analysis about that time that I wiped that snot on that girl's back. Number one, she did not turn around. Nobody else saw that I did that. I don't remember what kind of hair she had. I don't remember what kind of clothing she was wearing. I don't remember anybody else in that crowd. So why am I feeling bad? Now, here's another thing that's really important that we can recognize, and that is that these memories that we have are often made up. You didn't actually remember what actually happened. Worse still, we can make up things out of what they call whole cloth. Or actually, what that means is we just made it up. We make things up and then we feel bad as if they really happened and were really important, where in fact, not only was it not important, in many cases, it never happened. We made it up. It was a dream. So, Michael, let me ask you this question. Can you tell the difference between an actual old memory that you've got no evidence for and a story that you made up? Using the same background, the same settings, the same people perhaps, but you make up a story. Now that you made it up, you can't tell the difference. In fact, a lot of people will make stuff up and then they'll store that as a memory as if it happened when in fact it didn't happen at all. A lot of the painful memories really did not even happen. A lot of the memories that we have happened, the reality was different than what we remember. That in fact, when people remember, Anna, when they remember that that time when they were bullied and remember it again and remember it again and remember it again, they're adding to their dukkha. They're adding to their disappointment. They're making things worse and worse every time they keep thinking about it. So the right thing to do is to teach the people to have some mindfulness. Teach them a little bit about meditation, about anapanasati. See those thoughts as unwholesome and throw them out. Make a change. Put some wholesome thoughts in instead. That in fact, this general technique, now that we've been talking about specifically in the sense of painful memories and getting bullied, we can actually do that with all of our unwholesome thoughts. Any kind of unwholesome thoughts. Thoughts of revenge, thoughts of getting back, thoughts of being hurt, thoughts of wanting stuff that we don't have. All of those thoughts are considered by the Buddha unwholesome. They're hindrances. Why are they hindering us? They're hindering us from feeling the way that we want to feel, and we feel a way that we don't even want to feel. That's why you called it painful. You called it painful, Keyshawn, because you don't like it, and yet you keep stabbing yourself over and over again with those same painful. Maybe you think that my flesh is going to dull the knife somehow. And the right thing to do is to throw that knife out, to throw those thoughts out, to get rid of them, to change it, to divert. And the best kind of thoughts to divert to is this present moment. Everything's all right now. Wow, that girl that I wiped snot on, she's gone. She's an old lady now. She probably is dead by now. Poor old lady, she's 80 years old. So we can bring some humor into that thought. Right now, why worry about it? Okay? But we do. And we repeat the painful. That, in fact, the habit of the memory, this is something really important now. And that is that memories are not just memories in the sense of sights, sounds. It's not just television in the sense of video and audio. When we store memories, we store feelings with those memories. We feel the way that we felt now, the way that we felt then, plus. Okay, so if I felt a 4 when it happened on the scale of pain, by the time I remembered it becomes a 6. If I keep dwelling on it over and over again, it becomes an 8. I can become obsessed with it, it becomes a 10. And the reality of it was, it wasn't that big a deal in the first place. So that's the analysis of it. It was no big deal. The best part about it is that it's in the past, it's dead, it's forgotten, if you'll forget it. Just forget about it. Keep actively throwing it out, actively forgetting about it. Plus, now this is another really important thing. If you keep starting to have over and over again wholesome memories right now, telling yourself everything is okay, everything is fine, no bullies are here, wow, this is nice, wow, this is wonderful. You keep having good thoughts and good feelings over and over and over again, they will then become your new memory base, and the old junk is gone. Okay, so let us say that in the junk room you had a 1950 recorder, tape recorder. Then you had a cassette recorder on top of that. And then you have an old cell phone. And you put it on top of that. I know the things are getting smaller, but you have layers and layers and layers of memories. If you start layering in on top of that really good, happy, wholesome memories, then that's what you'll begin to remember. So that whenever you remember something, you're going to remember it very good. And so let me give you this example. Imagine that all of your memory bank is a cluttered place. Then, in fact, let's change it from a cluttered place into a sewer. That every time something is passed, we dump it down the toilet. And now the sewer system or the septic tank is now full. If you put a nice, delicious piece of food, let's say ice cream, you put ice cream down the toilet, just one tone of ice cream, then the sewer system is going to turn that ice cream into more sewage, right? But let us say that you put 10,000 tons of ice cream down that sewer, you're going to wind up with not so much sewer and a whole lot of ice cream. Now, ice cream rots, I know all of that, but let's say it this way, that if you put wholesome thoughts in, you keep remembering to have one wholesome thought after another, after another, after another, that's going to become your new memory bank. That's going to become, so this way, the way that we're talking about is diverting. Instead of bringing back all the old shit, let's pack it in with new good memories. Wow, there's no bullies here. Wow, I feel really great right now. Wow, I don't have to think about that. I don't have to do that anymore. Everything right now is okay. Let's have those kind of thoughts. Let's start having wholesome thoughts one after another. This is what the practice of Anapanasati is. And we call it practice because we have to put one ice cream cone and another ice cream cone and another ice cream cone and another one and then 10,000 more and then another one and then another one and then another one. We have to keep putting wholesome thoughts on top of that old pile of unhappy thoughts. And if we keep having good, wholesome thoughts one after another, then when you have memories that come up, guess what? You're going to have memories that come up about, wow, things are so nice. This is the way to handle your memory, is by packing it with good stuff. Okay, let's imagine that it's kind of a library. I remember the University of South Carolina, they had a great big celebration when they got more than 1 million books. They had to build a new building. And so what they did was all of the really old books, the really old stuff. I remember, in fact, that one of the things they had was the Manchester Guardian daily newspapers for 100 years. 100 years of newspapers they had in their old storage system. So how are you going to find any of that old stuff? The answer is that stuff stays in the basement. Old stuff goes down to the bottom. And you always, let us say, go into your library, you go into it through the front door where all the best stuff is. So why do we keep heading down to the old catacombs, the old sewer, the old basement, and to go after the really old stuff when we could be having memories of happy times? Here's an example. All of you have had relationships before, okay? So let us think about an old boyfriend or an old girlfriend that we've had. How do we think about them? We can do normally one of two things. Either one, I remember how much I hated her. Wow, I'm glad that I got rid of her. I don't have her now. Or number two, I wish I had her back. In both cases, that's either ill will or greed. I want her back, or it was terrible. That's the cause of suffering right there, is to want something again or to think of that it was terrible. That's both ways ignorant. The wise way is to say, oh, that's old stuff. I don't have to think about it. Or if you're going to have a girlfriend that you hated, then have good, happy thoughts about her. Don't remember the end of the relationship. Remember the beginning of the relationship. It was nice then, but it's gone now. So always remember that you have a choice to look on the bright side of life. Always look on the bright side of life. That's in a movie, Life of Brian. There they are, all up on their cross, being crucified by the Romans. And what are they saying? Always look on the bright side of life. Keep looking for the bright side. Any memory that you have, either throw it out and think of something new that's happy, or change that unwholesome old thought into a happy old thought. That's harder to do. The easier to do is just to throw that old unhappy thought out and put a new happy thought in, over and over and over and over again. This is why we call it practice. Nobody ever learns to play the piano unless they sit down and practice and practice and practice hour after hour after hour. The same thing is true. You're not going to learn to be happy unless you're willing to practice being happy over and over and over again. This is the practice of anapanasati, the practice of having gladdening the mind thoughts, to have happy thoughts, to stop having painful thoughts. Anna, this is something that you can help your students with also, your clients. When they have thoughts about being bullied, tell them, don't think about being bullied. Think about something else. Over and over again. He says, well, I thought about something else, and then I think about the bully again. He says, fine, you did it right the first time. When you thought it the first time, you changed it to something else. Now that you have the second thought about the bully, change that one too. And the 19th time you think about the bully, change that one too into something wholesome. And then the 3,000th time that you think about being bullied, change that one to a wholesome. And I would say after 3,000 times, we're not going to have so many thoughts about being bullied anymore. We're too busy having happy, hopeful thoughts about what's happening right now. So that's the way that I would teach a student about don't dwell on those unhappy thoughts. You've made a habit of it. You keep bringing up being bullied and bringing up being bullied. You didn't like it. You're just making yourself feel bad by thinking about it. So let's not think about that. Let's think about something happy. This is actually now what we've been talking about is to remember to look at these unhappy thoughts of the past, painful thoughts, to remember to look at the fact that we've been bullied and then make a change. This is the Eightfold Noble Path of the Buddha, is to remember, to look, and to change. So when we have thoughts about being bullied, change that. One of the things that we can change that to is, wow, the bully is gone. Wow, I bet he's dead now. But this happens especially for old dudes. How can an old dude think about him being bullied when he was 14? The bully is probably older than him. So when he's 80 years old, he's still thinking about being bullied when he was 14. The bully is probably 90 by now, if he's still alive. And the bully doesn't remember it. So why should you? So this is the way that we can talk about it for the students is don't remember it. It's irrelevant. What makes it relevant is it makes us feel bad in the present moment. Something that happened many years ago. 60 years ago it happened, and we're still being influenced by it. Let's throw those thoughts out and be happy that we're finished with that childhood. We're adults now. So that's the way to handle it, Anna. Those two ways. One is over and over and over and over and over again. Throw out those unwholesome thoughts. You can teach your clients to throw out those unwholesome thoughts. Start having happy thoughts. That while they're in there, when a client wants to talk about bullies, don't analyze the situation with the bully. Tell him, yeah, you have those thoughts about the old bullies, but that's over now. Let's have happy thoughts right now. Put that client in a really good mood right now. He wants to talk about being bullied to the psychotherapist. Let the psychotherapist say, let's not talk about bullies. Let's not talk about that. And when you go home, don't talk about it. Don't think about it. When you think about it, say, aha, I can change that thought. I can come back and be happy in this moment. Bullies, be damned. Don't need them anymore. So, Keyshawn, this is the way for you to handle all of your painful thoughts. Is just that thought's not painful. The thought is not the issue. It's the fact that you make your pain right here, right now. You have that old thought, and then you feel bad now. So let's not think about the thoughts that make us painful right now. Let's talk about happy thoughts that make us feel good right now. And then later we can go and analyze those old thoughts and say, wait a minute, I didn't feel that bad then. Why should I feel that bad now? You were happy enough before you had that thought. Let's get rid of it and be happy now. So, Keyshawn, do you have any questions about this?
I think we covered it. I don't have any more questions about it. I feel I think I have halfway through the talk I was basically over it.
Yes, but I keep repeating it over and over and over again. I could have said everything that I've said in this past hour. I could have said it in 5 minutes, but I took an hour to say it because that gives me a chance to repeat it over and over and over again to help you guys get it over and over and over again. Life is actually not that much to it. It's not that complicated. Everything is in cycles. Everything is repeated over and over and over again. Are you going to repeat things in an unhappy cycle? Or are you going to repeat things in a happy cycle? That's all there is to it. The choice about how you feel, you've always got that choice. You can either have that thought about the bully and feel good. That's hard to do for most beginners. The better thing to do is to stop having that thought about that bully and start having happy thoughts right now. Pretty soon or later, in fact, you'll be able to have those happy thoughts about the bully. Wow, I survived that bully. He actually didn't hurt me. I felt afraid, but I don't feel afraid now. So we keep repeating it over and over and over again. You've got a choice about how you feel. So, Anna, do you think you can give this information to your clients? Remember that you have to repeat it to them over and over and over again. You've got 45 minutes to tell them something that takes 3 or 4 minutes to say it. So that means that you got to repeat it 20 times.
Years.
So, Dhammarato, do you have any final remarks? Are you over your bullies?
Yes. And thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Nice seeing you.
How about you, Michael? You got anything to add?
Not even thinking about bullies right now.
All right. How about you, Ivan? Are you finished with your old bad, unhappy thoughts?
I try to.
Never mind. Start again. Okay, Michael, will you take a couple of minutes and talk about our website?
Yes, everybody, our website's come quite far along now, and we'd love for y'all to check it out, both here on the call and those that are watching the recording. If you can, just go to the homepage and click the sign up button. The name of the website is opensanghafoundation.org. There's all sorts of fun things you can do with it, like check out different Watts and Buddhist facilities all across the world. There's all sorts of resources and materials to browse through, and a growing community as well with members to chat with. And
hundreds of PDF files, thousands of videos, hundreds of text files. We've got a huge library building up. We also have many links to other sites. For instance, we've got more than 30 links to the bhikkhunis. So if you want to learn about the bhikkhunis and how, a lot of people in the old days of the feminism back in the 1990s, people were all in the West unhappy about the women not getting good Buddhist teachers and no place to go. That's not true anymore. There are literally hundreds of places for women now, and we've got a great big list of them. We have hundreds of bhikkhunis. We have dozens of articles about bhikkhunis. So we've got a huge, go to our bhikkhuni page. It's very interesting. So this is the kind of thing that we have. This is a site to add stuff to. This is a user organization. Most places you just read what's on their site, or you go and you buy something on their site. This place is a place to where you can send each other messages, you can add posts, you can add blogs, even the frequently asked questions. You can ask a new question and you can actually answer. You can take a question that's been asked, see the answer, and then add to it. You can upload files. You can upload PDFs. You can upload all videos. You can upload photos. So this is a very interactive site, and it's going to grow and grow. So I recommend everybody to sign up, because if you don't sign up, then anonymous people can't add to the site. But if you actually sign up, then that gives you the ability to post, to set up blogs, to send messages, to make comments, to add photos, to add files, to add videos, all kinds of stuff. We got quite a long video library. Go to the video page and see what we've got. Then, in fact, anytime that somebody posts a video on our Skype groups, the thing that I'll ask is, okay, we'll go add that video to our video library. All you have to do is just add the link. The software takes care of the rest. So I happily invite each one of you to go check it out. The menu system, by the way, has been completely cleaned up. It used to be quite complicated, but now it's very easy to find your way through. We have many different ways of searching for things. So you can search for cities, countries, you can search by zip, you can search by tradition, you can search by lineage, you can search by name, you can do all kinds of searches. And we have a whole lot of prearranged searches. We've got a page for elders, old monks. We've got a bhikkhuni page. You can search through the bhikkhunis on the bhikkhuni page. So we have a lot of pre-searches already set up. We have a resource page. So I invite everyone to go and check out the website. The idea, the intention, the design is that this is going to be the go-to site for Buddhism, because we're going to keep it current. There are places like BuddhaNet and GoSit and others that have a limited list of places with limited data. But of all of the places that we have, we'll have a photo, we'll have a link to their website, we'll have a description, we'll have their address, we'll have their email address. All of that data is collected together. We even have a way of linking them, so that if you have a lot of places that share common stuff and you find one of them, then you can click on that group page and pull up all the places that are associated with this. So this is going to be the go-to place for Buddhism. And it's also free. Doesn't cost anything at all. In fact, our donation page is even kind of hidden away. You have to go look for a way of donating money. So does anybody have any questions about our website? Ivan, have you signed up yet?
I don't have a picture. I could sign up, but I mean, I have pictures, but it's just, I'm not sure which.
Yeah, take your cell phone and say snap, and then you've got the picture.
All right, sure.
Yeah, we're very visually oriented in that regard. We also have a lot of audio files. So you can upload audio files. You can upload photos of yourself. You can upload photos of your dog.
Okay. I have a dog, yeah.
So take a picture of your dog and send that.
Sure.
Okay. Well, thank you all very much.
Thanks, Dhammarato.
We see you guys later.
Bye-bye.
See you later.